Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. We're going to go through another tier list this week. We're heading into Portland Regionals and the Umhlanga special event in South Africa. We've recently had 3 majors in this past weekend. We're almost out of our Journey Together format. Destined Rivals around the corner, but why not go over some of the meta decks that we might expect? I've cleared some of the decks that have never made day 2 on this list. Sorry United Wing, sorry Chen Pao, decks that just haven't done well in the Journey Together format. Cut them out. So I'm just going to be more of a real list of decks that I think are well positioned and my thoughts on that. I recently covered over the major metagame updates. You can check that video out yesterday. And I have the top 10 decks coming out this week with some more content coming out in between. Recently held some master classes as well, so check out some classes on Metafy if you want to keep up with the game. I'm just gonna kind of choose things randomly from here. I think I don't know how nice I'm going to be to some decks and how mean I'm going to be to others, but we will go through it. So I'm gonna kick it off with Gholdengo Dragapult. Gholdengo Dragapult, to me, I feel like it's fallen from being like very well positioned into kind of well positioned. A lot of Joltik boxes enter the top cuts, and day 2 and stuff like that. It's just not hitting the same way that it was. Dango the Dunsparce probably falls a little bit under it. It's just not, it doesn't have as many options as the Dango Dragapult, and the same thing for like just regular straight up Dango that we saw Bodie Robinson play. I think he made asymmetrical or top cut at one of the regionals. So it falls to me under a decent choice category. Dragapult Charizard feels like it's kind of well positioned to me. It's a deck that doesn't seem as strong as other Dragapult variants right now, but it's certainly, if you're avoiding some matchups, it could be okay. So something to consider there. Dragapult Dusknoir seems very well positioned. It's just been one of the top decks, easily a top 4 deck in format. Why not play it? We're kind of moving through the Dragapult decks. Dragapult, straight Dragapult with Monkey Dory, Genesect, and now Maractus has kind of fallen into the best decks. It's proven itself more than all the other decks in format, and it's going through a flip-flop battle with the other deck that I consider the best deck, which is Gardevoir with Monkey Dory. Monkey Dory, good card. Gardevoir has won the most majors that we had in this format somehow, and the battle between Dragapult and Gardevoir is typically going to be determined by the pilot of the deck. So that gets a lot of things out of the way. I think our Chaladon with Zoroark, not well positioned right now. I don't think it's a very strong deck in our current metagame, just because there's a lot of Joltik box and stuff like that going on. Not sure entirely how I feel about it. Kind of a deck that I'd probably put off to the side for now. Blissey to me seems like it's like kind of a decent choice. Can certainly do okay, but I'm not 1000% certain on its matchups outside of Dragapult. So I'm gonna put it at decent. I don't think it's not well positioned, but it could be not well positioned. Poison or Chaladon seems not very well positioned at this time. So our Chaladon just doesn't really have a great answer to a lot of top decks in format. So it's kind of drifted away from being a top 10 or so deck down to the below top 20 decks or so. Charizard Pidgeot, not very well positioned right now. There's a lot of decks at the top that just beat it flat out. It's not there. I think Copper kind of falls into the same category as Blissey. And you might be like, Zach, you're being too harsh to Charizard. Why are you putting Copper? A lot of these decks that have like an answer against Dragapult or Gardevoir, like if your deck cannot beat Gardevoir and Dragapult, and I know Charizard's double dark weakness to whatever, I think there's ways around it. I think that Blissey and Copperajah have a better placing in the metagame across the board. Not that they're better decks. Ceruledge, I think, is honestly like, it's getting slightly better. I think it seems okay based off our current metagame. So I think I'd probably put it at decent, but I'm not going to put like too much more effort into it. It's just kind of my feeling. Charizard Noctowl, I'm going to put it not well positioned for the same reason as Charizard Pidgeot. Eeveebox seems like it's probably in the kind of well positioned to very well positioned metagame. I think I'm probably going to put it at very well positioned. I think that makes it a little bit more fair. I think it has some solid answers against Dragapult, hold its own against a lot of other decks. Joltik Box to me also seems like it's going to be up in there. While it doesn't necessarily always beat Gardevoir, it does have a pretty good matchup against Dragapult. Hydreigon to me seems like it's like a decent choice, but I'm not going to put it out not well positioned. It's like closer to not being well positioned just because it doesn't have a strong, like it's good because Shaman doesn't exist yet is the biggest thing. Terrabox to me seems like it's very well positioned heading forward. We're able to kind of take out have a solid matchup against Dragapult and Gardevoir, so that part sounds really cool. Slowking to me is a deck that I think I would beat it if I'm playing Dragapult, and I think I'd beat it if I'm playing Gardevoir. So I don't know. I think I'm going to put it at not very well positioned. Future Box, same exact reason. I think that a lot of these decks have answers, and it's probably better to just be playing Joltik Box at this time. Terrapagos, Noctowl. I think it's definitely not well positioned. It loses to Dragapult, and I think it loses to Gardevoir. Raging Bolt. I think Raging Bolt seems like a really strong choice. Like the very well positioned decks category is going to be like the bulk of your top 5 or so decks, whereas these decks are fighting for number 1. These decks are fighting for top 5. These decks are fighting for the lower half of the top 10. Feraligatr doesn't seem very well positioned right now. The metagame's too diverse at the top, and there's enough decks that have counters to it. Roaring Moon, the Dunsparce, I think, is just under very well positioned. It certainly has its strong moments against Gardevoir, but loses against Dragapult, and then it could be interesting. I think Great Tusk is, do I want to put it, like, I don't know where I want to put it. It made top 16 at Santiago Regionals, and it's not the best deck. It's not very well positioned. Is it kind of well positioned, or is it a decent choice? I'm probably going to put it as a decent choice. I think it's fine. There's nothing terrible about it. It just like exists in the metagame and might do okay, but also like decks and decent choices usually have flaws in our current metagame. Same thing for Okie Dokie. We saw some of it on stream. I think that being it's kind of a single prize card deck. Like I think the Roaring Moon deck is a cut above the Grey Tusk and the Okie Dokie deck. That's my current take. I think Poison Roaring Moon is interesting as well, but again, like these are decks that are just like flushing out the decks that kind of exist. Enzork I think is kind of fallen down to a kind of well-positioned deck. I'm just putting them here in no order, but I just wanted to put it there for whatever reason. It seems not as strong as what we'd see as like Terrabox, and I feel like Joltik Box has kind of kicked it down a little bit. Frostlass Monkey Dory I think is kind of well-positioned. It's kind of more existing in the upper like top 20 decks, like the 11th, 12th, whatever decks. Those decks seem okay. Hopstation is a deck that I want to put pretty not well positioned right now. I don't think it's very well positioned in the current metagame. Has a lot of things that kind of hurt it. Milotic is a deck with Cornerstone or Frigraph, like basically wall stall. I think it's like a decent choice, but like you have to make sure that you counter the metagame properly. Our top 3 are definitely going to be Dragapult, Gardevoir, and Raging Bolts. So if you're countering these decks properly, then you're okay, but I don't know if it's always possible. Pidgeot Control, I think it's not very well positioned in our current metagame. And just because we don't have enough options, I mean, we have All Out Blitzel that dropped the deck for Raging Bolt, so maybe it's that's kind of my indicator. Mamoswine to me seems like it's not well positioned based off of Dragapult seeing a lot of success at the top, Terrabox seeing a lot of success, and I can imagine decks like Joltik Box would also be difficult. So we have a pretty interesting take on our metagame. Nothing too crazy here, but across the board, we have some really strong choices for decks. So I would say, honestly, like if you're picking anything from the kind of well positioned and up, that's more or less of our top 10. I know it's 11 decks, but there's 3 Dragapult decks there. Like that's fine. I think some decks like Dango have fallen off a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I think our metagame's also just going to really add Marty's Grimmsnarl and adjust some of the things, but it's more or less going to be the same decks towards here. So as we kind of approach for that, if you're playing in pre-release, I think that this is a strong take of our current metagame, and I hope that it helps you on your journey. If you know any of the cards, check out our sponsors at Kayfabe Cards, PTCGL Store, and Ultimate Guard. And if you're trying to get any coaching, be sure to hit me up on metafy.gg/@ZachLasage. All those links are available in the description. Stay tuned for more great content this week, and we'll catch up real soon. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes.
Tabi no hajimari wa tsune ni michi e no ippo de aru. Sore wa yami e to tsuzuku. 初めの一歩を踏み出すには勇気がいる。そして旅の終わりには旅を始めた時の自分とは別人になっているかもしれない。旅に出よう。物語の次の章がお主を待っている。将軍の道を歩め。侍の箱とともに。アルティメットガードが送る冒険の第一章。刀将軍の道近日発売。
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.